got Bowz versus Nebula right now.
Bowz.
Nebula choosing to go with PacMan instead of Trader.
I mean, that's just Nebula.
Yeah.
Character
So they were
convertibility.
each of their winners, and Bowz beat up his Pokemon trainer with Belmont.
Oh.
So his PacMan did a better job.
Still lost to it though, but
Oh,
he's going down.
Alright.
Trying to send a combo with the airship, but it's not really going to work out too much in his favor. But one of the main things about PacMan that is really good in this matchup is being able to combo offstage at early percents, late percents, mid percents, any percents. That's especially going to be threatening against Simon because Simon has not a good recovery. He has the tether, but not much.
Ooh,
He was
early
betrayed.
kill.
He was betrayed by his hydrant. That is unfortunate because that nice. I think it was the axe that got a hydrant going up. That's just how it'll happen.
Did he get hit by the hydrant or the axe there?
I think it was the hydrant.
Well, still got the kill regardless. Got killed regardless.
Yeah, but you can't really count out PacMan or Nebula just yet. Nebula
Oh, yeah.
has been able to beat Bowz before in the past, I believe. So this is still possible for both Bowz and Nebula. That's just the problem. The shield pressure that these characters exert are immense. But you know what? Decent. When most characters would have a problem with those axes, PacMan has a decent time with them since his side B does in fact have armor. Every time Bowz tries to go for that, probably expecting for it to hit, or maybe a muscle memory. But Bowz needs to recognize that that's not going to hit because eventually that will probably be his untimely death once in a while. But that's just a learning curve with every character. There's always that 50-50 option that you know you can do, but sometimes it's not just going to be there every time. But you know what? The attitude will be just as fine. Kind of like Martin Lucina's. It's fast enough.
Nebula be able to make it past all these projectiles? Yep, he makes it back on stage and gets hit by the returning cross.
PacMan has a genuinely good recovery, and that side B was actually a really good way to stall.
Ooh, nice down smash, covering the neutral get up.
Speaking of stall, we have that down smash for its really weird disjoint. But down smash as well.
That was fun.
Honestly, that's probably the best application for down smash in this entire game. A lot of down smashes have enough space to be able to cover ledge, to cover roll, or regular get up. With a down arrow for a PacMan, but then a return to the table with Bowz. Honestly, PacMan's down air did get buffed in this game, which is pretty decent. Able to most likely stuff out the recovery that Simon and Richter do have, but it's going to be a little harder to land. Speaking of hard to land, that apple's honestly probably one of the harder fruits to use for PacMan, but that angle is always going to be able to trick your opponent sometimes. Speaking of hard to use, that bell is actually really good in this matchup, considering that if you get that bell, you're probably going to be able to get Simon or Richter off stage with a forward air, with a back air, whatever you need to. And again, so, I mean, this character has few weaknesses, but the weaknesses he does have are problematic. He does not have many good, he does not have approach options, which he's a zoner, he doesn't use. He does not have fast frame data on the ground. He's a zoner, he can play the range, but the biggest problem is that his recovery is suboptimal. Especially with PacMan, honestly, it keeps this matchup even for him, because his side B is able to armor through, his up B is really freeform. To be able to allow him to recover any way he wants, but that up B is going to be able to get it. That is unfortunate, but that's one of the things that Bowz has lapped out.
Yeah, up B can be pretty dangerous, and get you some kills off.
By late percent, that is one of the higher end kill options that you can go for. You could still probably likely go for the down B into forward smash. It's a little harder, but you can do it. You can probably forward smash to 2-frame. I've seen it happen before. It's not impossible, but it's going to be hard on PacMan.
Yeah.
However, the down air into up B is still a completely viable option, especially late game. That spike will still keep it viable, and that up B is so strong, so potent. Instead, we see this counter pick. You'd think that this counter pick is bad for PacMan, but I'd say it's even for both of them. Richter has enough options to keep it insanely close, because Simon and Richter do love their flat stages to be able to work with the down B, the side B, and the axes don't have as much use as if they were on platforms, but I'd take the trade if it were 2 for 1. PacMan, however, does also have the good options with his neutral B of his own. Being able to cover flat stages a lot better than it would for platforms. But you always want to be careful because both of these characters have as much of an advantage as each other, and I can see why Nebula wanted to choose this. However, this is still really dangerous.
It's working out so far. Taking the first stock, forcing him off stage. Again, Belmonts have problematic recovery.
Now I think I see why this might have been a decent option, because platforms usually would give Simon or Richter another place to land on because those platforms are going to be decent. But without any platforms, say like if it was Kalos, you'd have that option to recover back to if you were high enough. Now you don't. Now you're stuck going for the stage, for the ledge. That up smash barely missed. If he angled it upwards, it would have been good, but I don't think he expected a PacMan to be able to be going up. PacMan does have a smaller frame than most characters, but I don't think he expected that. Oh wow, he actually clipped him with a down air. The multi-hits. That's one of the bigger issues with Simon and Richter. They have a hard time against multi-hits as well because you can fall out of them and air dodge, and that will suck. It's a silly question, but I do wonder, what if you use side B in neutral to be able to armor through, say, the side B of Richter's or Simon's? Would it be enough armor to actually be able to go through and hit him? You wouldn't get any options, but he'd get stage control, which is just as useful as getting combos.
I don't know. I think you could utilize that. Depends on. Of course, it always depends on how they react after they throw out their projectile, and there's a lot of other factors like how far you are. But Nebula is sitting across stage, throwing these projectiles at him, trying to get a bit closer, and he's gonna live that, but will he be able to? No, he will not be able to make it back. Nebula taking game 2.
Sometimes it's not about getting enough knockback to kill. Sometimes it's about getting enough to just for them to barely not be able to recover.
Sometimes you don't always need to send them flying to the blast zone. Sometimes you just need to pop them enough to keep them off stage, and like we just saw, that can be enough to win you games.
This is a stage that is good for both characters as well, because you do have the flat stages to work with, so PacMan and Simon do have enough to work with, but also a little better for Simon because he has the axes to work with. The axes being able to actually cover the platforms pretty decently, as well as having a high place to recover if you don't have the ledge as an option. PacMan can't cover both the ledge and the platforms at the same time, as that is just a little too difficult, and not enough options on PacMan to be able to actually do it. But what PacMan does is, early on, he has his up airs. He has his forward airs too, but Bowz will be able to escape that pretty decently. What I do like about this matchup is that it's all about who calls the shots. You see, Simon is calling the shots immediately because he's able to use the platform, he's able to use the projectiles to his advantage. However, PacMan actually has enough. Most owners don't have the options that a PacMan does for early boxing. For boxing, PacMan has a decently okay speed on his jab. His dash attack is okay at best, but his fruits allow him to actually get in. His fruits allow some damage, and low enough knockback to actually be able to go in, unless it's key. The bell especially, but being able to barely live that is one of the problems with this stage for Simon that keeps it away from being probably his best option. That up B will not kill as early as it could if it was, say, FD, because this stage is a little taller. The stage is a pretty decently tall one, even if the sides are a little small, so the up B won't kill as early. Okay. Sometimes it's about stage control, sometimes it's not about killing. But you know what? Hydrant is still a viable option every time.
Yep.
Oh, he's going to up B.
Missing the up B.
Every time he's going to be going for the up B because he's probably going to want to get the kill early on, or he's just used to it. So that's one of the things that Nebula has to both watch out for and recognize.
One thing that's dangerous is if he whiffs that up B and Nebula lands before him, then he can punish her.
When you whiff that up B, you have all the time in the world to go back on a platform or go back on the stage and read it. Get a forward smash.
Oh yeah.
Charge your item if you don't want to get it, if you can't kill early on.
Ooh, the Hydrant.
He's dead.
Yep. Not gonna make it back from that one.
That's honestly probably what keeps this matchup a little even, because PacMan will die pretty early, but significantly early. But same for Simon. Oh, he did come for the up B that time.
Yeah, I think he probably knew that it might not have connected, because PacMan might be at too high percent to have to reliably play. Ooh, wow.
Whoa.
Well.
Again, that's just how the matchup goes.
Yeah.
That's Simon and Richter's weakness. As fun as they are to watch, and as decent as they are on the neutral with their projectiles,